Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and today I wanted to go over 5 reasons why I choose Snap-on tools over a lot of the other tool brands, even though I'm just a DIYer, not a professional mechanic. I don't turn wrenches for a living, but I do appreciate a lot about Snap-on tools. And these 5 things are in addition to things like, Snap-on is American made, or Snap-on has got a great warranty, or there's a Snap-on tool truck around that I could jump on and get some service or learn about the tools. Instead, these are 5 other reasons. So let's get started. Number 1 is I feel like the Snap-on tools offer a little bit more over other premium tool brands. And it's like they take it to one more level. They spend a little bit more time on something. So, it isn't just they make a nice cable tie cutter. It's like they tried to make the world's best cable tie cutter. And of course, you might think, well, they charge for it too, but they did it. And they, when you use it, you discover these little tiny features that they obviously bolt or baked into the tool after a lot of research and development. So that actually makes a big difference when you're using the tool. So number 1, they give you a little bit more. Sometimes like one more click in the slip joint pliers, or high quality handles on a micro screw or a micro plier. Things like that. Number 2 is nuance. And as you're using the tools, you really start to appreciate small things. Maybe the ideal grippiness of the handle material, the subtlety between trying to get a hard material and a soft material to combine beautifully into a seamless expression of a ergonomic handle. That they bother to spend the time, making an amazing ratchet that fits in your hand. You start to, oh, why is that there? Well, the moment you pick it up, you realize that it fits perfectly in your hand. So they spent time doing that. I mean, there are things like this. Like, this is a Craftsman, big, 1/2 inch, compared to this. And what we see is, from 30,000 feet, they might look similar, but when you use them, they're night and day. This is awful. These are harsh edges. You could probably, use it in bushcraft to strike a fire steel. This collects dirt and makes it harder to clean. This lever, which is one of the big, you've got basically 2 buttons. This button here for the release and this lever. The release button feels okay, the lever is sloppy, so you got 2 and 1 is bad. This gets just caked in here, it's not sealed, so you're paying for all of those little things, those nuances that you might not realize are that critical until you use it a while. Now this particular one, I use it. What do? I've locked a 14mm on it and it lives in the garage with no purpose in life except to loosen the drain plug on an oil pan in one of my vehicles. That's all it does. Loosen it and tighten it. I don't need a 72 tooth or 80 tooth ratchet for that. And in fact, if it was, I'm not going to get anywhere near the limit of what this thing is capable of doing, because if I need to stress that hard on a ratchet for an oil pan plug, I've got bigger problems. But when I use it, I hate it. So the nuance is important. Number 3 is, for me, a lot of times using the tool is the destination. It's not a means to an end always. It's also the fun of using something. It's like walking around trying to figure out, what can I fix today? What could I build today? What needs some adjustment or some alteration? And then I get to use the tools, and the tools are fun to use. If they're good tools, makes a big difference. Like I might notice, here's 2 side cutters. SnapOn and a Milwaukee. This one feels fun to use. The way it sits in your hand, that they've arced this in a more natural, more useful bend versus something like this that's bowed. Now the bow does work on smaller pliers because it all locks into that palm. That's how you can control it. But once you start going to bigger pliers, there's no reason to scale that up because it doesn't sit in your hand very well. Your fingers don't bend in a bow like that. And you know, you're basically putting most of the force right here on the top of the palm. You're not able to use the entire length of this because it doesn't fit, whereas this one does drop in. And so nice. This might have a red coated handle, so does this. This might feel thick, so does this, but this feels so much better in your hand. It's just the right amount of squishy. This is a hard plastic. Now, and I haven't even got into the cutting of it, the blade, the angles, things like that. You know, this does have a reamer here, so they're adding value. You can stick this into whatever and ream it around, I guess. But it's that this just feels good to use. So using the tool, to me, is the destination. I want to use the tools. I want a project so I can use these. Number 4 is that SnapOn is a premium brand. And what a premium brand is, it's different than a luxury brand. It's a premium brand, meaning it holds its value. It's got a quality that it is well known for. Yes, it's got all the, you know, the complaints and the jokes about, you know, I can do way more with, you know, a lot less. Yeah, sure you could, but that's not the point. I can use this ratchet for years and then sell it for not a lot less than I may have bought it for new. Some people think that's ridiculous, but you know, I have a Toyota Tacoma. A new Tacoma or a used Tacoma, they're almost the same price. Why? Because it's a particular object that you know about and that has brand protection, because they don't want to produce junk that's going to cause people to have to question the name. Say you have an iPhone, you know, you expect it to be good, you expect it to perform 100% flawlessly, versus another brand. I mean, when the iPad came out, people were like, which tablet should I get? And I was like, name another tablet. And they couldn't. So, you know, when you think about tool brands, you know, this Craftsman, maybe it sells for 30 bucks new or something like that. What's it worth? 5 bucks maybe used? Doesn't matter. It's 5 bucks, whatever. It's not going to gain value. It's not going to be desirable. It's not, you know, now the USA stuff seems to be, but it's never going to have that brand forward premiumness that's going to keep its value and make people want it. And yes, it is a good tool. If it wasn't a good tool but was expensive, then it would be a luxury brand, you know, or it could be a new one. I mean, a good brand too at that point. But instead, you're paying for all of the things that the SnapOn brand carries with it. And number 5, why SnapOn? Because I can. It isn't just affording it. It's that even as a non-professional, I can choose to buy these things. I can choose to own them. I can choose to use them. So it doesn't matter if I'm just cutting the occasional zip tie. I can enjoy doing it. Nobody's going to prevent me from using high-quality tools for what some might consider mundane tasks. A lot of times I see people whose life is working with tools, and they're struggling with, you know, beat up old tools, and I think, gosh, you know, if that's what I was spending my life doing, I would certainly want to use tools that made me happy, or tools that really allowed me, you know, to perform at a higher level, or to do things safer or faster or with less damage, or, you know, to fasteners or whatever. And yes, they are expensive in some ways, although there are lots of ultra premium tools out there. I mean, you can spend $35,000 on a pair of scissors if you want. But what happens with with SnapOn, it's more expensive maybe than, say, I don't know, like a proto-professional. This is this is good. It's nice, solid, American made, good steel. But when you start using it and compare it to something like the Snap-on, well, you notice a lot of different things. How smooth this is, you know, how strong the jaws are, the play, the wheel, you know, it's bigger here, it's longer. It's kind of that, you know, going back to, you know, number one, it's a little more. This is flat. My hand isn't flat. We already established that with the cutters. So there's a little palm swell here. You know, they put in a little bit of a of cushioning. Yeah, I mean, Snap-on made this. This is probably from the 60s, you know, and they had that same design, but they evolved. They kept going. They started changing and updating and you know, slimming and moving the material around, and they kept making it better and better and better. And when you're using it a lot, you notice those things. But yes, this could work. This makes me happy using it. So I get to choose, and I chose Snap-on. Of course, Snap-on has a few duds, and you know, there are lots of stories. But in general, I choose Snap-on and for number 5 because I can. It makes me happy. I enjoy it. I'm allowed to do this. And with that, Doc out.